Hi, welcome, beautiful, beloved souls. My name is Gemstone, and I'm a psychic medium, and I'm an author. And this channel is mainly commentaries about anything and everything to do with life and death. So I don't fit a particular niche. I look at a wide variety of topics through a lens, hence the name of my channel. And today I thought I would do something where we could all come out of I wouldn't say our comfort zones, but where we blindly accept things, that we start to look at things we've been taught and things that we've been doing, and look at it and question it. So the video is about being cynical, questioning the narrative, and I'm going to start with a few questions that bug me. Question number 1. Which came first, the lizard or the egg? Think of that for a minute. What do I mean? I'm not just talking about dinosaurs here. You know I'm a conspiracy theorist. You know that this channel believes in other beings, that I believe in reptilians and the reptilians themselves. Even us. They had to be, for us to exist, there had to be something at the start. The old question, the chicken or the egg, the lizard or the egg. You don't have a fully grown dinosaur suddenly appear. A dinosaur has to start from being born, from being a little dinosaur to an adult dinosaur. The same with humans. You don't suddenly have, did we have someone that was ambiguous that cloned themselves? And then from that cloning, we did get sexual beings that then gave birth to a young baby and even so, if there was only, hear me out here, Adam and Eve at the start, who did the children marry? Who fathered, or who was the mother? Where did they come from? And who gave birth? Okay, I can hear you Christians saying that God created these, but if this is true, hear me out, why do we need birth at all? And if everything is born from something else, who gave birth to it in the first place? My second question is rules. We in society have rules, and our rules tend to come from, the 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not commit adultery. But what about the rules that are not, but are agreed to on a consensual basis? Like, this is a kind of ridiculous one to discuss, but it's still a rule. When you get in a lift, for example, where was the rule that we all had to face the front where the doors opened? It makes sense, but where is it in the rules that every person on that lift is facing the exit? Why can't we face that way or that way or backwards? backwards? What's the rule that we have to face the front? And there seems to be other rules. Why is there a distinguishment between men's jobs and women's jobs? Like, it's a man's job to put out the rubbish. It's a man's job to mow, thinking that the man has more skills than the women, but the man had to learn these skills as well. He's had to learn that how to mow. It's not an inherent skill, like compared to a bird where it's inherent that the bird flies. It doesn't need to, it learns to fly, but this is a skill. What I'm saying is the mowing skill isn't just part of being a male, it's part of being human. So all humans are capable of these skills as long as we're willing to learn them. Just because you're a man or a woman doesn't make you more talented in any area. We both come with 0 skill sets, and every person has to learn. There's other silly little rules that we have, and I want you to think about these silly little rules. Like, here's another one. It's disgusting and rude and awful to pick your nose, yet in secret we'll pick our nose. And because it's societal unacceptable to pick your nose in public. But I can remember Rob once saying to me, I used to say, "Don't pick your nose, that's disgusting." And he said, "I've got to get it. There's a booger up there, I've got to get it out." And there's other stupid things that we accept. Why, when babies are born, for example, is it pink for girls and blue for boys? Where does this silly rule come from? A baby doesn't know what pink is or what blue is or even the so-called neutral color of yellow. So I'm making this video, there's rules obviously for our own good, because without certain rules there would be chaos. And thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not, even lying I can see is a wrongdoing. And I can see that to keep the order, we have to have rules. But what about these rules that are not about keeping order, that are just, maybe they're cultural, maybe they're gender, but there seems to be this unwritten rules. Where did these rules come from? But the biggest one is we just accept everything, We, like the Big Bang. I was a really difficult child at school. I can remember asking so many questions. When I was a religious, I would say, "But who made God? Where did God come from?" Because for me, I couldn't accept eternity. Things for me always had to have a beginning and a start. And parasitology, parasites, fascinated me. I loved learning about parasites. Hear me out. I'm a bit random, but there's a point to my randomness. When I learned about parasites, I asked my teacher, I was in grade 8 science, and I said, "Who put the first worm there? How did the first organism know that if it turned yellow or if it turned green, that was an adaptation advantage?" I'm talking about Darwinism here. How did anything know that if it grew a tail or if it did this or that it was advantageous? Apparently, not apparently, I also have a lot of postgraduate qualifications, and one of my studies was in hominid behavior and hominid evolution. And part of that, we had to study, and I have studied forensics and evolution, and we had to study different species, and we looked at the dolphin. Did you know, and I am sidetracking, that the dolphin and the dog have a commonality, that the fin part, the bone structure, and the dog's paws are very similar. And it is believed by evolutionary scientists that the dolphin was once a creature that, remember, we all supposedly came out of the sea and decided that it was more advantageous to live on land. Well, the dolphin ancestors were once lived in the sea, and then they came to land, and then they went back to the sea again. Another thing, we believe in history, that this is what happened. But did you know history is based on one person, and a person, well, or several people, but we each have our own bias. For example, you might see an incident, and I might see the same incident, and another person see the same incident. And we ask after the incident to do a recollection of the incident. I'm going to remember the incident totally different to you based on my own biases. And based on those biases, I will either incorrectly or correctly describe something that's happened. And this is the same with history. History is full of lies. We all know that. We were taught, for example, about the Dark Ages, around the Middle Ages, and it is true. Western civilization was experiencing dark ages, but the Muslim major cities were actually experiencing massive growth in mathematics, in science, and in a lot of learning. And we're not taught that. We're taught that we went to the Dark Ages. But no, there were lights shining in other parts of the world where learning was advancing. So it wasn't all dark. But history is biased and fills a narrative. Back to the dinosaurs. I want to share something else. We accept that dinosaurs lived billions of years ago. When I was about in my mid-20s, the Courier Mail, a Brisbane newspaper, had this article. It didn't make the front page. It didn't make the second page. It would have been about page 8 in, and it was a little small article. And the article read, "Dinosaur bones found with human bones." What? And the article went on to say that archaeologists had excavated this site. I don't remember it was, but at the same level. And remember, geology says that Earth they can tell how old Earth is by the different stratospheres or different levels of the Earth and the Earth's crust, the Earth's dirt. But this article went on to say that in the same level, in a hole, a dug hole, human bones were found with dinosaurs. I'm surprised that that didn't break. I think newspapers, because there wasn't the internet now, that would have been such a massive conspiracy. It would have broken the internet. But we just seem to blindly question everything. Did you know another thing? I've always thought when they showed pictures of DNA that was real. That was real pictures, but apparently it's not. They are, our DNA molecules, for want of a better word, are so tiny that they can't be photographed accurately, and they so it's actually a theory that this is what they look like. It's guessing, but we seem to accept that if a person has letters after their name, that they have obviously been to uni, they've taken years of learning and study far advanced than what I or you know. Therefore, they must be telling us the truth. And we never question our truths. We never question why we blindly follow these rules. But for me, I have to know which came first, the lizard or the egg. This is for any type of entity or being. Now, my book, Seeing the Spirituality Behind the Negativity, channels that everything is at once, that we are all eternal. And I guess this is why Jem, with her little finite brain, has difficulty accepting infinite concepts. But we as beings on Earth are finite. So we do have a beginning and an end. So, was there a baby first, or were there two parents? Again, the Christians will argue that it was Adam and Eve, but that never made sense to me either, because Adam and Eve's children are committing a lot of incest. Just saying. Don't hate me. I'm not mocking any religion, please. If you are religious, this channel is not for you. This channel always questions everything. And I would like to ask you to drop a comment. Please do so respectfully. What's some burning questions you have? Or do you just accept everything? I also just wanted to quickly share, and I'm sidetracking here. You know about reptilians. Well, every one of us has a reptilian brain, and the fact at the certain stage of the fetus, we look like a reptilian. And we actually go through the different stages of resembling other life. Did you know that at one stage we look like a frog, a tadpole? Did you know these things? But yes, can I please drop a comment below? I'm still not well. Doctors here are so rare and it's hard to get in. I tried to book to see my doctor and it was 3 weeks before I could get in to see her. And mine's kind of a medical emergency. I've got very low hemoglobin and my kidney function is 20 or less. That's an emergency level. But if I get in to see the doctor and get the right medication, kidneys can function at a level of 8 and bounce back. My kidneys will. But it's keeping me being really tired. And when I'm so tired, it is hard to make a video. So that's why I appreciate any and every view. And I want to say thank you for that. But please understand, I'm going through a lot at the moment, and I'm doing the best I can, and I'll be back as soon as I can. Have the good rest of the weekend. Take care of yourselves. Be kind to each other. Love, light, and blessings. Bye.